Hi, I'm Jen Cornell, proud product owner of digital innovation and instructional technology here at Wayside Publishing. I'm so glad you are joining me today as we go through our Learning Site walkthrough. Before we start, I did want to highlight that the Learning Site is the central place that bridges gaps between technology, pedagogy, content, and training. And our goals of the Learning Site are always that you will be able to see elements of being proficiency driven, the fact that our online activities are engaging and equitable, and the resources that we provide are going to set you up for success within your classroom. We also look at innovation and personalization and opportunities for students to be able to connect with both of these elements. We want to ensure that we're building a global community, and we always want to make sure that our learning site is a place that shows what users can do with the language. So you will see here that we are already into the learning site, and what's so great about the learning site is that it is personalized and it allows for multiple paths of entry to assignments and content so that it makes access to resources and tools easy depending on your preferred style for planning. I'm going to walk you through all the different elements here. In our walkthrough, we'll be taking a look at a tour of the learning site and all that it has to offer. So join me and let's go ahead and get started. As you notice, the first thing I want to highlight here is what we're on right now, and that's the dashboard. And on the dashboard, this is where you have access to all your different courses. As you can see here, I belong to all and many different courses, but you typically would have only several here. For example, if you had Level 1 Spanish and your Entre Culturas 1, and this is where you would be able to access your course for your students. Then you'll notice over here that we have something called codes. There are a couple ways you can get set up with our learning site. Codes is one way, and if you do have access codes, this is where you would come and you'd be able to have the ability to share codes and get the list of codes for students. But if you're not using codes, you're going to be using either our rostering, and you can find more about that on our Wayside Publishing website and how we roster, whether be with some single sign-ons or some other third-party integrations. Or you might be using our learning site through an integration with Canvas, Schoology, or Google Classroom, a different LMS, and come in conjunction with our Wayside Publishing learning site. If you are interested in any of these options, you would just contact our support and we'll be able to get you set up. So now here, we've talked about the dashboard, we've talked about codes. I want to draw your eye to the notifications over here. And this is where you and students will be able to have the ability to be notified when different items have been assigned or you've created activities and etc. So you can always come here to have more information. You also have access to the online language portfolio for our courses that do have a portfolio. So when you click on this button here, this is where all the different portfolios will live with the courses. And so you'll see I have quite a bit here, but I want to go into my Entre Culturas course and I want to check on the student's portfolio. And this is where students upload evidence to align to different can-do statements, and they can upload their artifacts to show how comfortable they are with the different can-do statements and what they can do with the language in real time. So you'll see here, this is one of our can-do statements. We have either communicative or intercultural can-do statements here, so you could filter between the two. And students go ahead and give a progress indicator on how they feel according to this can-do statements. And students can upload evidence. The teacher can then review. So you'll see here that a student was able to post an audio and a video. They can also upload any other artifact that they want that they feel aligns to this can-do statement. And then what's so great as a teacher is we can go in and give either audio, video, or written feedback to help students level up in their proficiency, just to be able to constantly give them some continuous feedback on their language skills. Another thing that's really nice on the portfolio is our portfolio guidelines guide. And this is where you as a teacher can get more information about what is the language portfolio, how can I use it with my students, how do I engage with an online portfolio throughout the school year, and interacting with these can-do statements. You'll definitely want to take a look at this wonderful, wonderful support guide for the portfolio. Something else on your green banner here is a new tool feature called Learning Tools. And inside the Learning Tools is the Instructional Strategies Toolkit. And in this toolkit, this is a way for us as teachers to be able to vary up our instructional practices and be able to take a look at different teaching strategies that you might want to include, whether it's in the face-to-face classroom or while students are doing remote learning or a hybrid of the two. You can search by activities, by modes of communication, but you also are able to search by skill level, proficiency level. Maybe you're looking for a certain type of cooperative learning strategy or a game or something that's going to be able to connect to grouping and small groups. And more. There are so many different tags here. You'll see heritage learners, as well as things for social justice and STEM or STEAM. So you'll definitely want to check out these strategies to be able to get more into what that looks like in the different tags, etc., to enhance your toolbox. The other nice thing about our learning site is that it does connect to the iOS app. You can use it on any platform. We are platform agnostic, so whether you're using Android, but if you are using an Apple product, you will need the iOS app, so you would just be connected to the store and students can download the app here. The other piece on this dashboard is the what's new, and this is always a way to stay in touch with what's happening on the learning site. We are constantly making changes to make sure that you have and your students have the most wonderful tools to be at your disposal to be successful in the classroom. And so we're always taking feedback and releasing new features. So you'll just want to always keep an eye out when this gets highlighted, knowing that something new has been released on the learning site. So with that, I would definitely like to now get into one of our courses and walk you through the ease of our digital resources and technology that you and your students will be able to have access to while using the learning site and in Wayside Publishing. So I decided to go into my Spanish 1 course here, and what's really great, as I mentioned in the beginning, is we have a lot of personalization for you as a teacher depending on your preferred style for planning. So as I walk through this, remember there are a couple of ways to do different options when we start digging into material and going into the digital textbook, which is the FlexText. So I want to start with the FlexText. Let's go in. You'll notice there are different tabs along this top bar here. And when we talk about content, that's the Explorer side of our learning site. And this is where we have access to our digital resources like guides and rubrics and activities and videos. I'll come back to this. I'll also come back to our gradebook and show you how we can assign things to students. But as I mentioned, let's start with the FlexText and we'll be able to see the other options in a minute. So as a teacher, you have the ability to either start with the teacher edition or the student edition of the FlexText, which is your digital online textbook. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the teacher edition. And what's really nice about this is, like I said, there's multiple pathways. So if you're a teacher that likes to have the book next to you, you'll want to have the FlexText open here. That way you can see how it's set up for students. You can have access to resources as you go along. You want to pay close attention to these icons of the compass icons, because this is where you can bridge those gaps between Explorer and the FlexText and not having to go to the folders, and you can just have access to the tools here. So when you're on this activity, You might, you see, oh, there's a compass icon here. Well, within here, there's related items like a video. So I, as a teacher or a student, can watch the video. Okay. And if I want to access the accompanying material like an online task or a quiz for this activity, I have access to that here. I can also click on the activity. I'm going to click on this little gray square pop-up because it'll open it up in a new tab for me. And then if I want, I can either download the file or I can assign it to students. So this is one way you can assign material to students. I can also, you notice this button share. I can also share to Google Classroom. If I'm doing an integration with Google Classroom, I have this ability here as well. So I'm going to go back to our FlexText here because I do want to show you as well that you can continuously view the online FlexText in this manner, and you over here on the left navigation, you can have access to the different units by clicking around here. You also can search for items. So if you want to see, hey, what's available on the topic of comida in this book, let me double check, and it definitely highlights all of the words that are aligned to that search. I can also jump to page. So if I know for a fact, hey students, I want you to go to page 90, go ahead and do that. They can easily type in the page number right here. I can also take notes, and this is great to develop annotation skills and literacy skills where we can highlight something, and then as a student, I might say, hey, this is a great tool to remember. And I can save it, and then I have access to all of my notes that I take along the way in my FlexText. It's a great tool for study guides. So now let's go ahead and look. I'm going to come back to the content side, which is the Explorer, and look at the different resources that we have here. I can open up these folders. I have folders for students, for teacher-only items, all of my proficiency resources I can find, like a proficiency tracker, if I want to keep track of how my students are showing growth along the continuum of proficiency and which activities they're using. Another way to reflect. So I really like these proficiency trackers. I can also assign, if I want to assign something to students, this from here I can differentiate and say, hey, I only want to assign this to some students, not all, so I might not include this activity to Catherine, just as a way to differentiate. I can pick the due date, or I can say no due date, or what's nice, I can also assign something with a delay. If I don't want my students to get this activity immediately, I would include this assign with delay, and then they would get it the date that I set that to. So for this one, I'm just going to say I want this one due on July 31st. I'm going to assign it, and it gets assigned, and I'll walk you through where that leads and where that goes, because it'll go to the assignments tab. So if I'm back in content, I want to highlight a really great activity to use within the learning site called the Classroom Forum. And this is on every course. And this is where it's a discussion thread. You are able to post items to your students, whether it be a prompt you want them to reply to. You'll see there's a video reply. Maybe I want to embed an image and I want my students to reply to that. Maybe I want my students to just post something and then they react to each other. Maybe I'm embedding a different online tool, like maybe I have an escape room template from Henia Lily that I want to include, or I have a different online image from maybe 360 cities that I want my students to interact with. So I can link files and recording and videos, and then my students are able to interact. So you'll want to make sure you look at the Classroom Forum and make announcements and post for your classrooms to connect. Let's go ahead and move. We'll come back to Explorer in a minute, but let's go ahead and move to the assignments, because I mentioned there are a couple ways that you can assign items, and we have it personalized depending on how you like to plan. So we showed the FlexText, and if you want to assign maybe one thing at a time, you can also do that on the content side, but maybe you want to assign things in bulk. And you would come to do that, you would come to the assignments tab, and here you can either drag or drop your items. You can also, in this view, which is great, see which items have already been assigned to my students or not assigned to my students, because we know we go in and we might assign things at the beginning of the year, and then we want to go back when we're planning and think, oh, well, did I already assign this to my students? And so I want to see the elements that are not assigned to any students so far, and I just want to go ahead and assign a bunch of items. If I double click, things just go over into my, you'll see them start getting populated into my right panel. And then maybe I want an audio. So then I want, okay, great. I want all of my students to have this. Maybe I want all of my courses to have this. I'll be able to select who gets to have these activities. I'm going to say this is no due date for now, and I'm just going to go ahead and assign. So then you'll be able to see all of the assignments that you've provided to students. You are able to see the icons on what type of tasks you assign to students, whether it's flashcards or if it's a document or a quiz or task, or maybe you've assigned a classroom forum activity to them. What's really nice is you as a teacher can see if something's overdue or if something requires grading with the different icons. And over here, you would be able to see, oh, this is something, I have students that need grading, so I could go here and I could grade their activities. So this is a nice way to bridge the gaps between grades and assignments, and you can see, oh my gosh, this is due tomorrow, or I have, this is due today. I have on the student view, the students will also see similar elements and being able to have key indicators of knowing when something is overdue or if something is due. You can also view it as a calendar if you would like, and for teachers, the view is set to the list view, but if you prefer the calendar view, you can do that as well and go here and see all of the assignments that you have for different days, again with the same indicators if something requires grading or if something is overdue for your students. Student view will automatically have the calendar as their default setting, and if they want to switch to list view, they can. But all they would have to do is they can click on the tag, a little pop-up, and I can either edit the assignment or I can actually go and grade my students' work. We're now going to go into the differences that you'll be able to see in the Gradebook. I want to be able to show you our new and improved Gradebook. So that's loading. You'll see that we offer our Gradebook in a grid view. It's what you all are used to seeing and expect in a Gradebook. And you'll have all of your students listed here on the left and all of the quizzes that are graded automatically populated into your Gradebook. So you'll be able to see that you'll be able to tell if something has not been assigned to students or if something still needs grading. Again, you can go to filters and statuses and see, oh, okay, this icon means it requires grading, the dashes has not been graded, or if something's overdue. I can also apply some filters if I would like, based on the different activities or the date, the due date, or the sections. Maybe I don't want to include everything all at once and I just only want to see one unit at a time. I could do that as well in these filters. Then if I want to click on, let's say, this activity, this integrated performance assessment, I'll come here and I'll see, oh my gosh, okay, as a class view, I can see quickly who has completed and who hasn't. And I see, okay, I want to grade this. I can go ahead and hit grade, and it'll allow me to go ahead and grade the assignment. And you'll see that there's a total grade. I could leave feedback here if I wanted to. The students have access to see their percentages, and here's how I leave comments and how the student will be able to see comments. The view is very similar for teachers and students, is that both would be able to see their total grade and their any feedback you want to leave for the student. What's really great is, as a teacher, you probably want to spend your time grading one assignment at a time, so you can quickly navigate between students here. And you say, okay, I graded Serena's, now I want to go to Molly's. I can do that, or I could hit the next or previous button, and it'll take me to the next student to grade this activity. Again, I can also, as a teacher, if I need to remove an attempt by a student for any reason, you can see that this teacher gave at least 5 attempts so far to the student, if not more, because we want to eliminate barriers for students. So you as a teacher can set how many times you want a student to take or try an activity. Again, the statuses are here for your reference. And I want to go back to all students in my gradebook. I would just hit back to all students. I have some pop-ups that show up along the way. And if I just want to click on an individual cell, that'll quickly also bring me to the grade screen. So I can't wait to hear your feedback and how you're liking our new gradebook. So we've talked through FlexText and we've talked through assignments. So with the FlexText, we've been to assignments, we went to our new gradebook. If you want to have a full student roster, you would click on the Students tab and you'd be able to see your student view. Another way to get to the portfolio is through this route, or you could just come to the Portfolio tab. I want to go back to content, and that is what we call in terms of Explore. And you'll be able to search for items in your Explore course, just like you can search in the FlexText, but maybe I want some additional activities, or I'm looking for any videos that are here. I can search that way, or if I want to find what's on baseball, I can also do a search and play videos through this view. If I want to hide this preview, I could do that as well, but I always like to show it. That way I can see quickly what I can assign to my students. And if I say, okay, this is great, I wanna spend some time on the content and plan through this area, I can do that too. I would just click on an activity and I can, again, assign it, I can download it, or I can share it here. So like I said, there's multiple ways to do this depending on your preferred style and method. Excuse me, one of the other things I want to show you is once you get into the different units, there are some things you want to pay attention to that we have at the bottom of the activity type. So for example here, I can assign if I want to students, or I can share through Google Classroom. On anything that's a quiz with this stopwatch activity, I can preview before I assign something. So I might want to say, what is this activity going to look like? I want to preview it first. Let me preview this. And then, okay, yes, I want to assign it. I can assign it now if I want. Or I can also use these little eye pop-up icons to talk about, hey, I want to know quickly which type of activity this is. Is it a long answer? Is it a short answer? Is it a fill in the blank? Is it a multiple choice, etc.? So there are some helpful tools here to be able to do that. You can also, you're probably wondering, what is the settings tab here? I can include various individual settings that I want on activities, whether I would like to set a custom setting or put in a passing grade, etc. So I just want to check about the settings and what you may want in your class for students to have access to on different activity types. Let's go ahead and look at the portion of resources, because I did mention as teachers we have some extra resources that the students don't have in their Explorer content, like the teacher only folder. And this is where you'll have access to answer keys for the different units, and you can assign those should you want to assign those to students. You can also look at the rubrics and audio scripts. So here's a way to see the audio scripts for different activities, should you want to have access to those. There's also maps and the rubrics I mentioned earlier, as well as access to if you're still on the rubrics, you'll notice we've got around different modes of communication. I'll click on one of those so you can see that. So you'll really want to make sure you get a chance to look at these rubrics. We also have some tiered assignments as well. So if you're teaching French, for example, I want to show you that we do have some assessments that are tiered for the students. So you'll be able to assign students based on proficiency level, which level they want, whether it's the Blanc or Rouge, etc. So that's really nice for tiering and differentiating for students. I do want to walk you through the ability to look at a new activity type that we have in the AP book, and it's called vocabulary progression. And this activity is all about being able to use vocabulary to enhance learning, and it's grounded in Bloom's taxonomy, and it takes students through various steps in their journey and being able to do and produce with language in different ways through the vocabulary and using that in context. So there are different modules. Maybe a student listens to an audio and then has to pick the image. They can then practice pronunciation should they want here. They can also jump around to the different steps if they would like. They don't have to go and complete all of them, but they definitely can. But it does go in progress of, like I said, Bloom's taxonomy. So very simplistic at the beginning to become more challenging as they progress. You'll see that they have to eventually then complete an open response activity, and they are able to reflect on their language performance journey here using our built-in rubrics, embedded rubrics that we have for students. And then if you want, as a teacher, what's really nice is you can see results, and it gives you some visual dashboards of the learning. So you'll be able to see how many difficult words there are across all students, as well as how students reflect on the language performance and what they kind of rate themselves and what they've accomplished. Next, I want to walk you through the ability to look at the Settings tab. And here is where you'll want to take a look at, this is in every course, the settings, being able to make assignments personable, and whether you want to apply different settings and requirements to either assignments, quiz, or how you show and hide content, because you do have the ability to uncheck and check, customize what you want students to be able to see within their content. So if you're thinking, I don't want my students to have access to different units yet, I only want to let them have access to maybe one chapter at a time, you can do that, which is really nice. So you'll want to, before you set up your course, make sure you go to the show and hide content here. I do want to walk you through as you look at and get familiar with your book and product, you want to pay attention to the front matter of the textbook. There's a lot of really great information here, and it's all about the teacher introduction is where you'll find it. So you'll have access to the Role Readiness Standards, you'll have access to a scope and sequence to help you plan. You'll also have access to the essential features of how our textbooks are organized and really grounded in performance-based assessments and using authentic resources and language. But then in addition to our approaches to teaching, and what does that mean? And so how do you teach interculturality, or how might you use the can-do statements with students? If you're looking for more resources on how to stay in the target language, or how to differentiate instruction, or even look at engaging heritage learners. So really take a look at the front matter here. In addition, you'll want to take a look at the end matter, which we call is where all the different appendices are, because you'll have some things embedded in addition to what I showed you on Explorer. You'll have the ability to look at the rubrics here. You'll also be able to look at, okay, any connections to advanced placement or IB that we can make and how the series does that. You'll also want to take a look at there's glossary. So keep in mind the FlexText also includes the end matter of teacher appendices and the front matter of the teacher introduction, just to help you and give you more support should you need it or if you're looking for more resources. Talking about support, we here at Wayside really value you all and the continuous improvement efforts that we can make within our programs. So we have a need help button here that will allow you to get more insight into what our learning site has to offer and some getting started guides, as well as a learning site at a glance. So let me show you what these are. We have some tutorials. You can open this guide and you just walks you through in print things that I've mentioned to you as a user. You can also come back here and look at the Learning Site at a Glance document, which kind of gives a quick card and overview of the items that we've shared on the Learning Site and why I should use it, how I can get started, and then just some key features that are quickly able to notice how to find things and where it is in the Learning Site. If you think, oh my gosh, I really want to know more about how can I get access to videos and PDFs? Is that on FlexText or is that on the content side of Explore? It's on both, but knowing where you can have access to items on the learning site. We also have a brand new feature called our knowledge base of tips and tutorials where you can watch many videos on different topics. So we've got topics all about the learning site, for example, and you'll see elements and other about a walkthrough and Google Classroom integrations and how to use the different elements of the learning site, as well as how to get started with a learning site in general and what do I need to design online learning, for example, or maybe I'm looking for more insight into curricular aspects and I want to know more about the different series of maybe the French Entre Cultures or German or Spanish Entre Culturas. So I can go more in this view if I would like. And over here,
Wayside
all
Publishing.
these additional videos that talk about our features and talk about what it looks like to teach grammar in context or vocabulary in context. How do I work with essential questions, or how do I support my learners in self-assessment? So please take advantage of all of this wealth of knowledge and support that you guys have access to with Wayside, and look at the different playlists. The other piece I want to tell you, there's an FAQ, but this feedback here is so important to us. As product owner, I get to read all of the feedback that comes in. It's how many of our features get enhanced on the learning site because you guys have said, hey, I want my students to have better access to watching a video, and how can we do that better? So our developers go and make that happen for you guys. So, stay tuned and please always reach out to us. It's so important, your feedback and how we can support you all and anything else that you need from us. And then you can always email us. We do have live phone support, which is amazing. And so people can always help you right away for any issues that you might be having if your students are having difficulty logging on, or if you're looking at how to get started with rostering or integrations with one of our integration platforms that I mentioned, like Google Classroom or Schoology, or if you're looking, stay tuned, Grade Passback with any other new features that are coming out on the learning site. As always, stay tuned in the What's New, because that's where we release all of our new items and products, as well as our newsletter. I just want to take the time to thank you so much for joining me today and getting through this walkthrough together about the learning site. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions. I'm wishing you all the best of luck with your students, and Joy, thank you so much. Bye-bye.